Hello and welcome to National Focus. I'm Daryl Titt. In the headlines, 181 students to benefit from government's bursaries and scholarships. Steps have been taken to boost a robust telecommunication capacity, and Dominica stands in solidarity with countries which offered assistance during the COVID-19 pandemic. Details of the headline stories and more when we return. Welcome back. Dominicans are being urged to keep an eye on an approaching weather system. Tropical Depression number 7 has developed into Tropical Storm Gonzalo and is moving towards the west-northwest at 14 miles per hour.
We were monitoring a tropical wave in the central tropical Atlantic, and as of yesterday at about 5 p.m. that system became a tropical depression, and this morning at about 8:50 a.m. that system developed into a tropical storm, and it's the 7th tropical storm of the Atlantic hurricane season, and that's Tropical Storm Gonzalo. And at present at 11 a.m. That system was located in the latitude 9.9 degrees north and longitude 43.6 degrees west, and that is about 1,205 miles east of the southern Windward Islands. That system is moving towards the west at 14 miles per hour, and the maximum sustained winds are near 50 miles per hour with higher gusts. The expectation is that the system is expected to become a hurricane by tomorrow, Thursday, and expected to become a storm again. That will be on Saturday, and by that time it's expected to move across the southern Windward Islands, estimated about 200 miles south of Dominica. But that's the projection for as of now. But you know that the systems are dynamic and things can change. We are looking at the presence of Sahara dust in the area, and most times this tends to subside or impede the development of systems. So, and again, tropical cyclones are not points, so the extent of the system would extend a certain distance from the center. And as we're talking of Gonzalo, the extent of tropical force winds is about 25 miles from the center. So basically, when you have a system coming towards an area, regardless that the center of the system doesn't pass over that area, then we still have the outer bands or the pockets of moisture that would affect the islands. I mean, the islands in close proximity, and Dominica would be in close proximity to the outer bands of that system, or the pocket of moisture would definitely affect Dominica. So we'd expect to see periods of moderate to heavy showers, thunderstorm activity, and gusty winds expect to affect Dominica beginning from, say, Thursday night and continuing into Saturday. So the advice is for persons to know their vulnerability and to make the necessary precautions, because to avoid things like landslides and so on. So we intend to issue either a flood watch or flood warning, and based on the situation, and we advise persons in areas prone to flooding, landslides, and falling rocks to exercise caution during the period.
Following the release of the Grade 6 National Assessment results by the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence, the government has awarded 64 scholarships and 114 bursaries to students who excelled in the exams. Octavia Prosper has more in this report.
Minister for Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training and National Excellence, Honorable Octavia Alfred, says government will provide textbooks and stationery to the awarded students.
The amount allocated to scholars and bursars for textbook and stationery is $1,000 and $700 respectively. In addition, the cost of CXC fees for these students will be covered by the government of Dominica.
Minister Alfred expressed her thanks to everyone who played a role in the swift transitioning of the exams.
The exams were administered without incident, following the strictest social distancing and sanitation guidelines. I thank the staff of the measurement unit, Mr. Robert Giss and Ms. Candia Robinson, for their tireless effort in adjusting the exam and putting all measures in place to ensure a smooth administration. I also extend profound gratitude to the support staff of the Ministry of Education, including the education officers, learning support staff, curriculum officers, IT staff, and others who assisted at various schools, especially on the exam day. Our teachers and principals also played key roles in preparing the students to write the exam and ensuring that all exam centers were organized in keeping with safety requirements. Your commitment over the past months has not gone unnoticed.
Senior Education Officer Mr. Robert Giss says 15 schools have topped the island in this year's national assessment.
This year we have a standardized score of 339.6 and 22 students. We have the Pioneer Prep at the top of that list. And this is followed by the Lighthouse Christian Academy with 339.4. They only had one student. The Convent Prep with 35 students had 331.9 points. The Jones Bopier Primary School, 9 students writing the exam with standardized score of 330. We have the Monjon Primary School, a very small school, 4 students, 329.9%. We have the Girodel Primary, another small school, 4 students, 329. We have the Christian Union Primary with 12 students, 326 points. We have the Clifton Primary School, 319.2 points for students. We have the Roosevelt Douglas Primary School, 315, 34 students. And we have the Atkinson Primary School, 315 points, 14 students.
Mr. Giss spoke in detail of the students' performance in the examinations.
In the language arts, we had an average of 61.6%, and the girls, 65.6% of the girls, as compared to 58.1% of the boys did well in this paper. In the language paper 2, we had 63.8% of the girls, 56% of the boys, an overall average of about 60%. In the mathematics paper, we had 56% of the girls, 53% of the boys, overall average 54.5%. In the general paper, we had 61% of the girls doing well in that paper, 58.6% of the boys, and an average of 59.8 or 60% of the students doing well in that paper.
He says despite the many challenges faced with the electronic learning exchange, the students were not affected.
This is comparable to last year's results where we had a full year of school, and compared to the shortened year we had this year, as you know, we lost mostly the whole of the third term in face-to-face instruction. So it just goes to show that our online instruction, while it may not have been perfect, but it did work. The scores were relatively the same.
Meantime, Assistant Chief Education Officer Dr. Jeffrey Blaise says plans are in place to ensure that schools are ready for students and staff in the new school year.
We intend to significantly increase the amount of water troughs at our schools to ensure that we place hand washing as a priority for our students and staff. We'll be equipping our schools with additional dispensers for sanitization. We will increase cleaning supplies to our schools, as well as increased engagement of our cleaners. We'll erect signs to raise awareness to students and the general public on the protocol and related measures in this regard. We'll increase the monitoring of our students' hygiene practices and we will place special emphasis on that because that's important to us to ensure that students are safe. We'll double up on our training for our staff, our teaching staff, our janitorial and auxiliary staff.
Mr. Blaise says social distancing also forms part of the new measures which will be implemented for the students.
We will use our school space and maximize the use of the space to ensure that we practice adequate social distancing where necessary. We will even improve our communication with our stakeholders to enhance student safety and the experience of our students. And in addition, we intend to engage our students on the reopening of school in remedial activities because we recognize that some of our students may have lost some of the opportunities for effective learning, and we'll do an assessment of all our students at the beginning of the school year, and if needs be, we'll do remedial activities with students that are deemed necessary for such activities.
This year, 846 students wrote the exams, which were distributed over 4 districts. In the Eastern District, 92, Northern District, 211, Southern District, 122, and in the Western District, 421 students. Octavia Prosper for the Government Information Service.
Minister for State in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for telecommunications and broadcasting, Honorable Oscar George, says numerous steps have been taken to boost the telecommunications capacity. Minister George says government has invested in building a robust network around Dominica. The minister says following a storm, communication should be restored in the quickest possible time.
We had the experience of Maria, and what that showed us is that, telecommunication infrastructure might not be operational following a disaster. The internet might be down, radio broadcasting might not be operational either. So what we did is we approached the ITU. ITU is the International Telecommunications Union, and in collaboration with DASI, Dominica Amateur Radio Club, we were able to commission and install what we call a wing-in network. So essentially what that does is it's a radio messaging network. It has the capacity to send messages, emails, attachments, different messages that can be achieved all around the island. So also that service it doesn't need the internet to function, and that is very, very good. We also have solar generators, so it could go off the grid, and that does wonders. God forbid we are faced with another disaster and the telecommunication infrastructure is down. We could rely on that.
Government recently launched a system called WinLink Radio Messaging System. This system is expected to aid Dominica's response to disasters.
What that system does, it gives us an additional layer of resilience. We have met with all the operators, including Flow, Digicel, and Epic, and they have shared with us disaster plans. And we as a government, we have also created our own disaster plans. But nevertheless, it's always better to have follow-up plans, and this is one of the plans we have in case these traditional telecommunications operators find themselves in a bit of a problem. So as I said, this has been installed. We have training ongoing to ensure that we build capacity around using the network, using the service, and following any disaster, we'll be able to make swift communication with first responders, and that in itself is very excellent for us.
A contingency fund for disaster response was created and is being administered by the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC, and the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority, ECTEL. All these are put in place to ensure that Dominica is fully prepared to bounce back after any disaster.
This fund is very, very significant. Being able to communicate is very important. But also of importance is having the financial resources to boost response efforts. So through the ECTEL Directorate, the recommendation was made to establish this fund. And basically, this fund is well justified given the fact that we are faced with a number of disasters almost biannually. And also the advent of COVID, we can be faced with emergencies of that nature. So every country, in the region, we have some fragile economies, and we could find ourselves in need of some financial resources. So this fund has been established, and what I can say is that we have benefited from this fund already. A couple months back, Hector made 10,000 US available to us, which was directed to the purchase of PPEs. And that is just fruits we bear from that fund. In my opinion, it's a very, very useful fund to have.
Following the passage of Hurricane Maria in September 2017, some villages in Dominica still have no access to the internet. Though bringing internet to the villages is the responsibility of the service providers, government is subsidizing the process.
Through government intervention, the NTRC issued some bids for community Wi-Fi's and fixed wireless broadband. As I mentioned last month, it was we had received these proposals from the service providers, but upon review by the regulator, we wasn't comfortable with the content of the proposal, so the operators were asked to resubmit. I must report that this new proposal has been received.
Prime Minister of Dominica, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, says his government does not negotiate principle and stands in solidarity with the countries which have assisted Dominica in our time of need. Prime Minister Skerrit says countries such as China and Venezuela, even while dealing with their own challenges, have continued to assist Dominica during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, China is there and they will help us, and our friends from Venezuela, even if they're having their own difficulties, they have reached out to us and been fighting COVID-19. Other countries were even stopping our supplies from coming, things that we paid for. They were taking it, and Venezuela is under sanctions, reached out to us with PCR tests and rapid tests and other PPEs and so forth. So when you see me and you hear me talking in defense and in solidarity with China and so on, I'm doing it out of a matter of principle, ladies and gentlemen. And we must stand on principle. I always say, always a saying, you can negotiate words, but you can't negotiate principles.
The Prime Minister said with the support of the People's Republic of China, Dominica was better able to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic.
We want to thank you again for the support which China provided to us in fighting COVID-19. That while you were grappling with COVID-19, this pandemic, you were able to reach out to Dominica and many countries across the world in providing supplies to us. And I dare say, with the support of the government of China, we were in a better position to contain the spread of COVID-19 in Dominica. And we look forward to your continued collaboration. And in respect to the WHO and the World Health Assembly, we stand in total solidarity with the People's Republic of China on these matters. Those who want to leave the WHO, they can leave if we want, but the rest of us in the world will remain and continue providing leadership to the world.
The Dominica State College is offering a one-year certificate program in agriculture. This is to give individuals wishing to further themselves in the agricultural field the opportunity to do so. This course will be offered from September 2020. The Academic Council of the Dominica State College has approved this program to meet the growing needs for training for individuals pursuing agriculture and for farmers already working their farms who need additional training in the science of production.
This program, it basically fulfills the need of individuals who want to have a background knowledge in agriculture and who want to have attained some level in agriculture without completing our associate's degree program.
This program will cover courses in soil science, farm practice, crop production, animal husbandry, and farm management. Ms. Alexis spoke of what is needed for an individual for registration.
As of now, one can apply for the Certificate in Agriculture program at the Dominica State College. To apply, one simply has to visit the registrar's office and bring along one passport size photo, birth certificate, $50 application fee, and of course, they need to have passes in mathematics, English, and a science, be it agriculture science or any other science.
Ms. Alexis informed that an assessment will be made of the people who are interested in the program but did not complete the Caribbean Secondary Examination Council exams.
If one is interested in participating in the Certificate in Agriculture program and he or she does not have CXC passes, you can still apply. We do have an assessment whereby you would sit with the Dean, Mr. Raw Leslie, and we will look at your academic history, we'll look at your area in agriculture, your level, what you have done before, and based on that assessment, you can be considered to carry out the program.
She encouraged all, specifically the young people, to take advantage of this program.
So I'm encouraging all you out there, be it young and old, particularly the young ones. Agriculture is not something that the older folks should be interested in. It is something that can bring you a lot of income, cause you to live comfortably in life. In fact, I saw something recently of this young lady who's into agriculture, and she's doing tremendously well, and that can be you as well. And it starts with your education where? At the Dominica State College, for a cost of nothing at all. All you simply do, visit us at the registrar's office or call 275-3666 for more information. We want you at the college, so come join us.
You're watching National Focus. More when we return.
Scary. Everything just shaking and making big creaky noises.
Earthquakes, big and small, take place in the Caribbean at least 10 times a year.
The dishes rattling and falling and breaking, then Vonnie started to scream.
All I could think to do was shout, "Get outside, get out!"
Earthquakes, hazards, take control, reduce your loss. If an earthquake hits, what can you do? Get down, get under an item of furniture like a table. Hold on and stay there until the quake passes. Find out lots more about earthquakes and other hazards at your local disaster office. A message from your National Disaster Office and SEDERA.
Welcome back. Member of Parliament for the Portsmouth constituency, Honorable Ian Douglas, says, when history is written, it will be acknowledged that the government of the People's Republic of China has played an integral role in Dominica's development and has been Dominica's best economic development partner over the years. Minister Douglas says the construction of the 3 bridges along the Eo-Libla Highway is one step closer to building a climate-resilient Dominica. He says that Dominica should not only celebrate its achievements in infrastructure, but the years of friendship with the People's Republic of China.
And even as we celebrate the opening of these pieces of infrastructure, we celebrate the growth and the strengthening of the great bonds of friendship between the Commonwealth of Dominica and the People's Republic of China for yet another $50 million gift and 46 additional interventions.
The St. Mary's Academy and the Bagatelle Primary School have captured the top prizes of the Dowasco Water Week poster competition, while the Granby Primary School took the first place in the essay competition. The winners of the competition and their schools received their prizes at a small ceremony held on Friday, July 17, 2020. The Roseau Primary School took the second place prize in the poster competition, while the St. John's Primary was named first runner-up in the essay competition. This year, Dowasco celebrated World Water Week under the theme Water and Climate Change. General Manager of Dowasco, Mr. Bernard Etinoff, says World Water Week is used to help the youth and other citizens develop an appreciation for water resources.
The purpose of World Water Day of Water Week really is to create greater awareness of the importance of such a vital substance as water and sanitation services for the well-being of every citizen, in fact, every human being. It also highlights the challenges faced by countries to get good quality potable water to their citizens. And among those challenges, you have the scarcity of water, you have shortages occasioned by many different things. Of course, you have the cost of doing business as opposed to the cost of doing nothing sometimes. And a lot of times countries fail to do, and hence people suffer.
Mr. Etinoff says that despite the challenges faced in 2020, Dowasco is happy that the students were able to participate in the competitions.
So Water Week for us means a lot, as a result of which we have put in place a dedicated and committed committee headed by Ms. Louise Alfred, our Water Resources Officer, and some other dedicated staff from the WASCO to plan and execute activities for Water Week annually. And I must say that although in 2020 we'll all recognize that things were different, we are happy for the success that we've had to date. We had a number of activities planned which we could not execute because of the required protocols, social distancing, the lack of congregating really, schools were closed and things like that. But we are happy that, we were still able to have a number of schools participating in our Water Week activities, in particular our posters competition and our essay competition.
Mr. Echinoff urged citizens to take up their responsibility to protect Dominica's water resources.
We are privileged in Dominica to have water in abundance, I will say. Some people say 365 rivers. I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but I subscribe to the fact that we have an abundance of water in Dominica. But there are countries where it's very different, and millions of people go without water and also without sanitation services. So there is a need for each and everyone to play their role in ensuring that everyone has water and everyone has access to basic sanitation services. There is also the need for us to preserve the water that we have, to conserve and to preserve that future generations will not be underprivileged. We have a responsibility to protect that which is given to us for ourselves, our children, and for use by future generations.
And finally, this news time, the Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization and Kalinago Upliftment, in collaboration with the Office of Disaster Management and the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, has embarked on a national derelict vehicle removal campaign. Shakira Peer has more in this report.
The campaign will operate from June 30, 2020 to December 31, 2020 with the aim of removing 500 vehicles within that period. General Manager of Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, Mr. Florian Mitchell, describes the importance of the derelict campaign.
Under the Natural Enhanced Environment Project, basically is a project that was set up since Hurricane Maria for the removal of zinc and the processing of the material out of the island. So the removal of derelict is basically a continuation of the Enhanced Natural Environment Project. This time around, the corporation seeks to remove 500 vehicles from the island.
Mr. Mitchell is grateful to the government of Dominica for the donation of 2 vehicles to assist in the derelict removal project. He says that the assistance will improve the outcome for this year's campaign.
The vehicles have actually been donated by the government for that specific purpose, and they can only be used for that project. So we are sure that the project will continue for a very long time. Well, we're looking at for the next 6 months.
Derelict vehicles are known to pose serious threats to the environment and human health. They serve as breeding grounds for vermin and other vectors and can lead to an increase in illnesses such as Zika, dengue fever, and chikungunya. These vehicles will also contribute to flooding and landslides during hurricanes by blocking drains and roadways. Mr. Mitchell calls on the public to be aware of the danger of derelict vehicles. Shakira Peer for the Government Information Service.
And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, as well as on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here at the GIS News Production Team, I'm Daryl Titt. Thank you for watching.